something in the air, and it's politics.
Girl State is like high school teenage girls who care about government.
Are you friends?
No, we'll become friends.
Yeah, obviously.
In 2040, I intend to run for president.
So I think at Girl State, I'm gonna run for governor.
Attorney General.
Supreme Court Justice.
Okay.
We're never going to get the opportunity to talk to people from different parts of Missouri the way that we are right now.
I am a very social person. I will talk to a wall.
Often when women start talking politics, we get shut down.
But I'm not one to be left in the dust.
We all have, in our own different ways, grown up in a world where we've never seen a female president. But how do we change that? We step up.
This is where it all begins.
We all work very hard on the image of ourselves that we want to show to the world. It's exhausting.
I know it's a lot of pressure. I can see it. I'm that same person, so breathe.
Good luck.
Good luck to you too.
We are all Americans and we all want the best for this country.
Standing in front of this crowd of future leaders, I can say that God can save the world. Women will save America.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Hurt with the NRW, where nerds rule the world, and I am here with the directors and producers of Apple TV Plus's new documentary, Girl State, arriving on Friday, April 5th. This is Amanda McBaine and Jesse Moss. How are you today?
Hey, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
The documentary it's a fascinating one. What brought Girl State to you two? Amanda, let's start with you.
We had made a film called Boy State that was related and that came out in 2020. And actually, when we were making Boy State, we had been talking to the Girl State program in Texas at the same time, thinking maybe we'd make Girl State first or in tandem. They were not as receptive to us as the Boy State team was at that time, but we always knew we were going to do a Girl State film. It was just a matter of where, when, how, but not why. And I think it took us a couple of years. We needed to all get past COVID, and these programs needed to come back to life. And we auditioned a bunch of states and ended up in Missouri for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, probably, is that the program was game to have us be there, but also Missouri is really interesting state politically. It's not a battleground state, but it has some complicated politics, and that we knew was going to feed into the session in 2022.
Absolutely, you can really feel that. You can see just the students really having some not really knowing where they want to be just yet, especially in these upcoming elections. Jesse, when you're talking about, as Amanda said, you were talking about kind of having a little bit of an access issue. Is that why access between the Girl State and Boy State was such an important element to y'all's documentary, that y'all wanted to really expose that?
Well, I think it's a lot to ask to be invited into a program like this with 17-year-olds, be it boys or girls. I think access is everything in documentary, both access to an institution, but also to the people who you're choosing to point your camera at. And I think we had first a challenge of institutional access, but then we're focusing on 17-year-old girls and going through a very intense week-long program in which they challenge themselves, they're challenged by other people. And I certainly wouldn't have been comfortable if somebody pointed a camera at me when I was 17. It's kind of an awkward time, but these girls are incredible. They're I think they're not, I was tempted to say wise beyond their years. They're not. They're wise. They're ambitious. They're smart. They're ambitious. They're politically sophisticated, but they're also very much 17, and they're hard on themselves, and they're honest about that. And we have 2 teenage daughters, so we know what it's like to be a teenager in America now. And I think fundamentally the project of this film is like, how are young women coming of age politically in this moment? Our country's like falling apart. We're like perched on the abyss. Like our democracy is something we used to take for granted, and now it feels like it may have a lifespan that could expire quite soon. And I don't mean to be melodramatic. I think that's really true. So are young women and young men going to save us from our doomed state? I hope so. And certainly they are showing us a new kind of politics in this film, Girl State. They are doing things differently. They are not tearing each other apart. It's not Mean Girls. It's also not like fantasy of nice girls. They're actually very real, very honest. They're trying to find common ground and like show us new politics.
Absolutely. And that's such an important part of it. You have this concept of one of the girls mentions that she doesn't want to get stuck in this rut of, of girls just pushing up feminism. She wants to see women grow and develop, especially young girls as they move into the future. The last question with that is, what do you want young women, young girls, and people of every gender to get out of Girl State specifically? Amanda, let's start with you.
I think there's a number of takeaways that I've brought with me in making this film. One of them is that to be connected to someone like Emily, whose politics are very different from my own, but who I root for, who I love as a human, who is now I consider sort of a family member. I think that's a really interesting project for what is probably going to be mostly liberal audiences for our film. The challenge I extend to them is, can you connect as a human being to this person whose politics are probably different from yours? So that's one thing. The second thing is I see these films as a little bit of this film in particular is a little, my tiny little effort to correct the lack of representation for women in both film as like main subjects, but also obviously in politics. We're still stuck at 25 to 28% in representation, both in Congress, but also in governorships. And obviously we never had a female president. So, this film is just a tiny, I know it's a simulation, but we had a screening recently where a 10-year-old girl was in the audience and she was watching, these 17-year-old girls lead and take risks and run for office. And she was watching them also be honest about their failings and their vulnerabilities and their fears at the same time that they were presenting confidence and ambition and passion for, being patriots. And I just love that she was witnessing that in our film. It's just a small correction, I think, for me in what's lacking in our country.
Absolutely. And Jesse, what about you?
I think Amanda said it.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Girl State once again arrives on April 5th on Apple TV+. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Heather.
Bye, Heather.